Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the URI Foundation and Alumni Engagement and the URI Women's Leadership Council, I would like to welcome everyone just welcome everyone and thank you for attending. My name is Lydia Amoregba, and I am a proud member of the URI class of 2015 and Secretary of the Women's Leadership Council. I am honored to be part of the Women's Leadership Speaker Series, a program that showcases the inspiring career of highly successful and influential women and provides an opportunity to share their work, their knowledge and experience with students and alumni. Today's program is the first of the series of the year, and I want to thank you for joining us, and we hope that you return for future events. I'd like to take a moment to read URI's land acknowledgement statement. The University of Rhode Island occupies the traditional stomping ground of the Narragansett Nation and Nayatic people. We honor and respect the enduring and continuing relationship between the indigenous people and this land by teaching and learning more about their history and present day communities and becoming stewards of the land we too inhabit. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to highlight the Women's Leadership Council. Led by alumni volunteers, the URI Women's Leadership Council supports and enhances the personal and professional growth of emerging leaders by cultivating meaningful opportunities to unite, celebrate, empower, and learn from each other while forming lasting connections and relationships in the community and beyond. Originally focused on women, the council has evolved to support all emerging leaders at URI. Its endowed fund now provides awards to full-time students with a GPA of 3.0 or higher. We hold leadership roles who hold leadership roles on campus, selected by the Office of Enrollment Services. Now, on to today's program. This session will be question and answer style between our featured speaker, Elizabeth Werner, class of 1993, and our moderator, Nikki Noya, class of 2000. As you listen to the program, please feel free to submit questions into the Q&A feature. And if time allows, we will spend some time at the end sharing questions with Elizabeth. Please note that we may not be able to get to all questions, but we'll do the best we can. Now, I'd like to introduce our moderator, Nikki Noya. Nikki Noya is a Harrington School of Communication and Media graduate and Division I volleyball Atlantic 10 champion. After URI, Noya was a professional volleyball player and began a career in television. That's awesome. in 2016, she joined the cast of the travel and lifestyle talk show, the JetSet, first as a wellness correspondent and now as a co-host and executive producer. Noya is also a board member and vice president of Dress for Success, chair of the Noya Family Foundation, and a member of the URI Foundation of Alumni Engagement Board of Directors. So much going on.
I forget how busy I am.
Thank you. Nikki, thank you so much for moderating today's program, and I will now turn it over to you.
Oh, thank you so much. It is absolutely my pleasure. I feel so honored to be part of the Women Leadership Series, and I love interviewing all of these incredible ladies, especially the fantastic woman that I am about to introduce today. I've gotten to know her a little bit over the past few weeks, and we have such a shared background, and I love talking to women that, just like me, are juggling quite a lot of plates up in the air. So let me just put my readers on so I can introduce you guys to an incredible woman. Elizabeth Werner, a distinguished alumna of the University of Rhode Island, credits her transformative college experience at URI with shaping her extraordinary career journey, as do I, Elizabeth. She started off her career as an attorney admitted in New York, Maryland, and the Second Circuit of New York. However, once her children were born, she developed a passion for consumer products, like all moms, that helped make life easier and happier. She loves to spend the last 2 decades researching, writing, and presenting consumer products that she loves to share with the world through television, online sources, and radio stations. She has repeatedly appeared on many popular national and local television shows and radio stations, including, but not limited to, are you ready, everybody? This is quite a role. The View, CBS Mornings, Tamron Hall Show, Fox and Friends, CNN, Access Hollywood, and The Today Show, where I personally got my start as well. Elizabeth has also been a guest host on QVC since the year 2000. She also appears as a spokesperson in sponsored media tours, which we both do almost every day, presenting products within different fun topical themes throughout the year to local TV affiliates and radio stations across the country. Elizabeth, you busy, extraordinary woman, I'm so happy to be talking to you today.
Well, thank you. I feel really honored to be here, and I'm excited to chat with you and share.
So you've already had an absolutely full morning this morning, because every day for both you and I is different. Tell me a little bit about just what even you had this morning before we started just now.
Yes. So I am a regular contributor on CBS Mornings. I participate as talent for their CBS Deals program. So what that is, sometimes when you tune into your favorite shows, you'll see that they're actually selling product. And we do that at CBS Mornings. This is something that helps keep the lights on at all the shows. It used to be that people advertised pretty heavily on cable. And since advertising isn't as big as it used to be, this is a way that several of the different shows and networks can monetize. So I go on, I present consumer products. And this morning was really fun and special. We had Cedric the Entertainer and Anthony Anderson on with us with their new barbecue line. So that was one of the items we presented today. It was fun.
Isn't it fun about our line of work being in media is every single day is totally different.
100%. Yes.
100%. And that's something that we'll kind of talk about when we get into the meat and bones into what you and I do, is that we have so many things going on and no one really knows what goes on behind the camera. And then you hear 3, 2, 1 action, and then you're on. But we're going to get into that in a little bit. So let's talk about some of your favorite people that you have worked with. Let's start with the fun ones.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. I mean, over the years, I've shared green rooms and stages with a lot of people, and I have a lot of really great memories. But I would say that the people that I deal with the most are the behind the scenes people, right? The producers who I have grown to love and have really taught me what it is that I do. Coming from a law background and falling into TV by accident, I really didn't know anything about TV. So those people have become the most instrumental in my life. But I will say that I have a favorite green room story where I shared a green room with Robin Williams. And he was absolutely hysterical, telling joke after joke after joke. And it was at The View. And I had been told by my producer at the time that when I was in the shared green room to mind my own, come in, you do your job, you don't bother them. Celebrities are bothered in the street. You just let them be. But he kept telling jokes and I couldn't help but laugh. And he really wanted the attention. His daughter was there and she kept saying, save it for later, save it for later. And I kept laughing and laughing. And my producer came in and I thought I was going to be in really big trouble. But he was absolutely hysterical off set, just like he was on, which was really fun for me.
But some of the people that have gone in and out through our studios and who you pass in the hallway, and sometimes you think back on the day and you say, oh my God, I can't believe, did that just really happen? Was that my Thursday?
Yes.
Is this normal? It's really so interesting. And I agree. Like for me, the makeup artists that I have worked with, the sound guys, have to hide microphones all over the place.
Yes.
The lighting people, the camera people, all of the people that kind of really make all of that magic happen, because we have to make everything look so easy. So I agree with you. It's all of those hundreds of people that are talking into our ear, telling us how much time we have, making sure everything's right. We really couldn't do it without those people. Let's talk about some of your favorite parts of what we do. What are some of your favorite parts?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I think that obviously when we're on TV, we have a lot of fun. But that is the sort of the smallest portion of what most of us do. So I spend the majority of my days researching and studying. So my job on TV, which is a little different than, several other people, I work as a consumer product or a lifestyle expert. So it's my job to come on shows and present products. Sometimes it's just editorial. I'm the hottest toys for the holidays. And sometimes it's when I'm selling products. And it's my job to know the product inside and out. Every single detail. When I learn these products, I know them better than the people who invented them. So I'm not scripted. Everybody else might be reading off a monitor, but I always have to have all that information in my head. So for me, the bulk of my days, I'm researching and writing about not only the product that I'm going to go on with, but I have to look at every other product in the world that exists that's similar to it. So I know how to make my product unique. I know how to emphasize what's most important. And I take notes and notes and notes. And then at the end of the day, I think the most fun part for me intellectually is taking the 30 pages of notes and condensing that down to like 3 sentences, right? Because the amount of time that we have to actually say what we need to say is always very short. And so I find that very challenging. And that's the thing that makes me really enjoy what I do. So the part when you get to actually see us on TV, that's the fun part at the very end. It's the cherry on top. But for every time I go on TV, there's, 20, 30 hours worth of work prior to that we're researching and writing. And so all that time when you're at URI for the current students and you have all of that homework, I would like to tell you that it goes away. It doesn't go away, but what happens is you find a career path or a job that you love. And when you're doing that research and writing, it's fun and it's exciting. I know that sounds hard to believe, but that does happen.
No, it's true. And what we do is we don't have regular hours.
No.
Our hours are completely abnormal and atypical. And when we get on the JetSet, it's hundreds of emails later. It's 57 phone calls later. I'm already working on shows that are coming up in 4 months while filming what's happening now. So it's all day, 24 hours a day, just so much going on. And you and I both do something called SMT. So we're always talking about products and Mother's Day gifts and summer barbecues are coming up and all of the things.
Yes.
Okay. So let's go back to your time at our beloved URI. Tell me a little bit about your experience there and how much fun that you had.
Yeah, well, I have to say that URI literally was the perfect school for me. It was, if you were to paint a perfect picture, I would not have changed anything. Obviously, it's a beautiful environment. All of the professors really were so wonderful. And URI is a community that's just different than most. It's just incredibly bonded. It's the perfect size school. It wasn't too big and it wasn't too small. And I feel like it was very transformative for me. I always struggled in school, elementary, middle school, and high school. I had undiagnosed learning disabilities, and I didn't realize that. So the teachers thought I was lazy, maybe not so smart. And when I got to URI, my very first in-class writing assignment with one of my professors, Professor Stein, he pulled me into his office a couple of days later and said, with learning disabilities, you can have additional time. And I said, I don't have learning disabilities. And he said, well, you're absolutely dyslexic. So he starts going through the list. And I was sitting in his office feeling very insulted that he said this, but he referred me to a program at URI where I could go and have testing done. And I learned that I had dyslexia, ADHD, and it opened up this universe for me. At University of Rhode Island, they granted me accommodations. I had never even heard that word. And all of a sudden, when I would study, I could go in and take a test with additional time, a quiet room, and I could actually succeed. And it was at URI where I learned that I actually wasn't lazy and I could perform, and I learned my value there. And the professors there were constantly reassuring and thanking me for my participation in class. And it was the place where I think I learned that I could make it. I could actually become something where all of my years before then, school was just uncomfortable and awful. And so they opened up this universe for me that I wouldn't have had. So it was fun. The parties were great. The football was great. Like all the clubs, the organizations, I ran Hillel. I was an orientation leader. But really the fact that professors grabbed me and pulled me into the world of learning and made learning not only fun, but rewarding. I could never thank them enough, really.
Do you have any other professors or particular classes that you remember that were really also not only beneficial, but like you kind of found your footing? I had public speaking with Hurricane Agnes Duty, who
Ah,
really
yes,
changed my life.
that's amazing.
Did you have her as well?
I did have her. Yeah.
I just got chills. That woman pulled me aside after class one day and she said to me, I expect greatness from you. And if
Wow.
you don't go and do all the things that you just told about, like we had to present like our brand and our enterprise. And she pulled me aside after class and she's like, now I expect you
Wow.
to go do that. And I need you to report back to me in 10 years.
Wow.
And I did. And I went to go visit her in hospice. I brought my crown, I brought my sash, I brought pictures of all of the things that she inspired me to do. She saw
Mm.
something in me that, I mean, she really was a life-changing teacher. Did you have some of those besides Hurricane Agnes?
I did. Yeah, I did. So I studied political science and had minors in sociology and African American studies, and I had unbelievable professors. But Professor Killalay, Professor Stein, Jerry Tyler, which was very exciting when she came. I hadn't really had many female professors in that department, so that was something that was really amazing. But Professor Weisbord, I don't know if you ever had him, but I learned a great deal from him. And they really all made such an effort to pull us into learning, making learning fun, and really teach us that there was a world out there for us that we would fit in and would fit in with us. And so, yeah, I just actually came to URI for Professor Killalay's retirement party. And it was really special to see him and the other professors that I named that were there. It was really great.
Can you believe how nice the school looks? Can you believe
Yeah.
all the new buildings and how gorgeous and modern and awesome it is right now?
It makes me really happy. It makes my heart feel happy, but I have to say it still has that beautiful New England charm that we fell in love with. So I'm happy to say that even though they've built new buildings and it's modernized, it still has that gorgeous, right out of a textbook movie look to it. Yeah.
Especially our quad is like bucolic, idyllic.
It is.
Cute. It's so nice to be back. Okay, let's now move ahead to how did you decide what to do after college? Did you immediately say, okay, I want to go into law school, or did you kind of think about a few different things? What was your decision after that?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to go to law school. Actually, when I was a bit younger, my parents had, somewhat of an icky divorce, and I was assigned a guardian ad litem at the time to represent my wishes and my needs. And it was at that time that I thought, wow, this is a really cool profession. I hadn't really been exposed to it before. And I thought, this is what I'm going to do. So I was pretty young when I decided I was going to be a lawyer. I didn't realize with the kid that had all the problems reading and writing, I didn't really know what went into law at the time. So it sounded like a great plan. A bit of a struggle for me to get through. I did it, but 3 years of law school, it's a lot of writing and a lot of reading, and those things take me considerable more time than most. So I always joke that when I went to law school, I made friends, had great professors, but I was on a first name basis with Quentin, the security guard who opened and closed the library, because I was the first one there and the last one to leave. So the 800 pages of reading for most every day is a struggle, but for me it was really, really tough. And 3-hour exams became 6-hour exams for me with my extended time. That's not fun. So it was a lot of work, but very rewarding and very exciting. And I was very glad to do the program. And while I was in law school, I had a great fellowship that allowed me to go and work for the UN in Malaysia, which was remarkable. Wow. They had great clinics at the law school I went to Brooklyn Law School, and I was able to work in a senior citizen law office, providing free legal services to senior citizens in the 5 boroughs of Manhattan.
Amazing.
That for 2 full years, we did home visits. We helped with, preventing evictions, writing wills, whatever it would, any senior that called, it didn't matter what their income. If they lived in the 5 boroughs of New York, we provided them with free legal services. So that was incredibly exciting. And when I left law school, I launched, there's a lot of choices to make, but I went to work for a public benefit corporation called the New York City Housing Authority. And I worked in a program there. I was an honors associate, and I was able to rotate through all the different legal departments. And it was just magnificent to be able to do litigation, to be able to do contracts, housing law, employment law. It was really a remarkable place for me, and I loved it. And one of the greatest benefits was at that time being sworn into the Second Circuit with Sotomayor and being able to
Wow.
do federal level work as a young person that was sort of fresh out of school. I did do a summer at a big firm. It wasn't the right place for me. It's a great place for many, but I wouldn't have been able to do all those great things had I gone right into a big firm, because, you have to kind of work your way up. But when you work at a public benefit corporation, you're generally given a lot more work, high quality, fun stuff pretty fast. So I really liked it a lot.
But that was smart of you to take time to go to the law firm, the big law firm, because sometimes for our students who are watching, sometimes learning what you don't want to do and learning where you don't want to be and learning what you might think this might be the path, and then you give it a try and you're like, no, actually, this is not the right role for me. And you found a part of law that gave you such personal satisfaction and such personal growth, and you felt like you were actually making a difference.
100%. They allowed us to do great things. In addition to our normal legal work, we could, if we wanted to, apply for grants to get youth build programs where we would be able to help the people living in the housing developments, young people, get trained in jobs. And they allowed us to do a lot of really neat things to help people in the city. And I just found it incredibly rewarding and really wonderful. And the lifestyle also was better for me. I was getting married, having a baby. I really didn't want to work 90 hours a week. So it worked out really nicely.
All right, let's talk about my favorite saying, trajectory pivot. You and I have both done some trajectory pivots.
Yes.
At some point, you decided to change the course of your life, my dear. How did that come about?
So very random. I actually didn't think I was going to change courses. But when my now ex-husband, still very close friend, and we decided to leave New York as our first baby was 18 months and it was becoming increasingly expensive to exist. And we moved to Maryland. And at that time I had not yet taken the Maryland bar. So I had to start over, took the Maryland bar. And back in the cave days, the old days, it took a long time to get results from these kinds of exams, like, handwritten, lots of whatever. So while I was waiting for my results so I could go get a job in Maryland, my husband placed a product, he's a product designer, on QVC. And they needed someone to go talk on TV. And I thought, well, kind of sounds fun. And they said, well, you talk in a courtroom, like you could probably do it. And I hadn't even heard of QVC. I had to turn it on, see what it was. This was back in 2000. And so I went to QVC and I did an appearance, and there was no training back then at QVC. They put you on at 3 a.m. It was kind of sink or swim. I didn't know what camera to look at. People were talking in my ear. But I thought it was kind of fun. And I did that waiting until I was going to pass the bar. And while I was there, I started really enjoying it more and more. And every time I was there, another brand would walk up to me and hand me their business card and ask me if I would go on TV with their product. And every time I would do this, oh no, I'm a lawyer. I'm doing a favor for my husband. This is not no, but thank you so much. But I kept the cards. I'm not really sure what it was in my head. And then one day I was thinking back to President Carruthers at University of Rhode Island. He was president when I was there, and I did a lot of work with him. And at one point, he sort of told me his life story, which was very fascinating. And you should have him on at some point to hear how he pivoted. But he said to me, a lot of times in life, you knock on doors, you think you know what you want to do, but sometimes there's a door that opens, and you should always explore that door. You should if it's open for you and you don't always have to knock, you should really walk in the room. And so I sat one day looking at this stack of business cards, and his voice came in my head. And I thought, oh my gosh, is this an open door? So I started to write down, the positives, the negatives. I passed the bar in Maryland. I started thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And I thought, there are a lot of really good lawyers. There are a lot. I mean, a lot. There's a lot of lawyers. How many people go on TV and talk about consumer products? Probably not so many. I thought maybe I found a little corner of the world that I could do something that would be special, and there weren't a lot of other people doing it, and that might make a good career. So I went to my husband and I said, I'm going to give it a year, and I'm going to call all of these people, and I'm going to just do this. I'm going to make a business out of talking about products on TV. And I think he probably thought I was crazy. Everyone thought I was crazy, by the way. The voices in your head, there were voices coming from everywhere. Oh, what a waste. You went to law school. What a shame that you're not, you're going to give up all of that. Well, I didn't give up anything, because guess what? It's exactly the same skills. When you learn how to learn, but you transfer those skills. So I knew how to research, right? So now I'm researching a product. I know research. I know how to do that. And then I have to get up and present it. Well, I learned that in law school too. So I felt like it was the perfect segue. And at the end of that year, my business was growing and growing. And I said, this is it. And I never looked back. And literally one thing led to the next. So being on QVC led to The View, led to the Today Show, so every single door that opened, I would just say yes. And so like the satellite media tours you were talking about. So for people that don't know, we used to travel, by the way, from like city to city to city to city, like 20 cities. You'd get up in the morning, you fly to the next city, you go on TV at a local affiliate, then you get on a plane and you do it again the next day and the next day. And then eventually they came out with a way where we could sit in a studio, and then TV stations from all over the country could tune in to you for a set period of time, and you could do an interview. And you were sitting in one room. And so in our satellite media tours, we do 30 interviews over a 6-hour time period with local affiliates all over the country. And I used to have to go from city to city. It was like amazing. So a company reached out to me and said, we would like for you to do satellite media tours for us. And I said, that sounds great. I had no idea what that meant. I had no idea what it was. But every time I would hear, President Carruthers say, it's an open door, just walk in. It's an open door, walk in. And so I occasionally would be asked to train other people to go on TV. Okay, open door, here I go. It was by training someone on TV that I ended up on The View. I was training Jillian Michaels, who was on The Biggest Loser. I was doing media training with her. She had come out with a DVD and a book, and she was going on different TV shows, and they weren't seeing an increase in sales. So they asked me if I would help train her, so that maybe when she would go on and talk about her book, they would maybe see an increase in sales. And while I was at The View with her and other people I trained, one of the producers said, why aren't you doing this? And I was like, oh, no. I'm just here training them. Every step of the way, imposter syndrome, we all suffer from it. And so she gave me a shot. And that was the first national show that I did. But so each door that I walked into, like President Carruthers said, led to another really beautiful place. And I really never looked back. I mean, yes, are there pieces of law I miss? I enjoyed it, but I've run my own business now for 25 years. I use my law degree in a lot of different ways. But this was a universe that I fell into, and I have really enjoyed. Very lucky.
Some of the things resonated so much with me. It's just, well, first, there is never like a right time. There's never like, you can't wait for anything. It's never a right time. Never. And also for everyone listening, everyone's going to give you their opinions. They're going to be up in your ears and telling you, oh, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. What are you doing? The only person who you really need to listen to is that voice in your head that says, just go for it.
Yeah.
Just go for it. They're not living your life. They're not answering your call. They're not living your life. You have to answer to that voice in your head that as a woman, it's very intuitive, and we really know what is right for us.
100%.
So, like you said about One thing leads to another, leads
Mm.
to another. I was training at the Sports Club LA in Rockefeller Center. I was retired from volleyball. Now I was a trainer at Sports Club LA, right where they do the Today Show.
Yeah.
They're doing fitness segments every day. And I was like, sure. I mean, I'm just a trainer, but I'll go on there and show them how to do this. Next thing you know, I'm doing other fitness segments on other shows. I showed up on time. I helped. And I'm a team player. And I just made it easy. And I
Yeah.
didn't, say, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. You should never stop learning. You should always evolving. And then those fitness segments led me to doing fitness segments on the JetSet. And I wasn't getting pregnant and nothing was happening and they needed a new co-host. And I said, I'm not a co-host, I'm not a host, but I'm a hard worker. I'm an athlete. I listen. But those first few episodes when I was on TV, I don't know about for you, but I'm looking at the teleprompter like, hi, I'm Nikki Noya. But you just keep learning and you just keep showing up and you just keep going. And one thing leads to another. Absolutely.
And there are people around that throw you lifelines and you have to learn to receive those. So I had a producer at The View, Jamie Hammer, unbelievable. And she taught me what I did not know. And I spent a lot of time listening and learning from her. As you're getting ready to do a TV segment, what kind of things do you need to do besides researching and learning your products, right? You need to know what you will need to demonstrate your products, right? So if I have a remote control car that climbs up a flat wall, I'm going to need a flat wall. If I'm going to show a steamer to steam clothes, I'm going to need electricity, I'm going to need a rack, and I'm going to need a wrinkly shirt. Putting together all of these details, making sure, and teaching me what all those things are, so that then when I would do my segments, I would submit all of those things, which normally the producers do, but I would submit it when I would submit my pitches. And it, like you said, it made other people's lives easier, because I was coming in with, all right, here's the order I think it should be in. Here's how I think it would work sequentially here. And so there were a lot of people that threw me these lifelines and taught me what I did not know, because I still have never had a headshot. I did not plan to be on TV. I'm not an actress. I'm not a model. I don't know how to do any of the things. So people would throw me lifelines and say, all right, we're going to work on this for you. So
But they also remember how you made them feel when you were on set. You showed up and you were prepared, and that makes you stick out from the other people who are doing the exact same thing. It's like, oh, Elizabeth, on time, knows her stuff, easy to work with, book her again. Bum, 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 bum.
I think that that's very true. And I think that that's probably true in every field, that if you show up and you're prepared and you're on time and you're a good teammate and you're pleasant to be around, I think it really helps you excel. I don't think it matters what field you're in. It's just such a good thing to think about.
Yeah, graciousness goes a really long way.
Yes.
Thank you notes go a really long way.
Yes.
You're in competition with so many other people who are also really great at that, but it's that how you leave and how you made people feel while you were in that space carries on. Don't you think so?
It's very true. And the people that you would expect would be your mentors or the people you would look to. I mean, once you start getting into your career, there are going to be people a lot older and a lot younger, and you're going to be learning from everyone. If you're going to be learning from both. I have all my producers now. They're amazing. All of them, Becky and Phoebe and Colby. They're all amazing, and they're younger, and they're teaching me so much every day. I'm still learning. I mean, especially like vocabulary and cool words. I don't know any of those, but it's amazing for me to see what I'm learning from them. And now also I hope that at the phase that I'm at, that I'm going to help throw lifelines to other people, so that as they're coming in, maybe I can help a little bit too.
I have a feeling you are. Okay. With all of the things that you do, how do you balance family / career / personal / all of the things it takes to be a woman in 2025? How do you do it? What's your secret?
It's funny, in a sociology class I took at the University of Rhode Island, I read a book called The Second Shift. I don't know how many of you have read it, but if you haven't read it, it's still very timely. And it was all about how women were now, emerging into the working world, but they came home to the second shift, because when we came home, we have to do everything. I mean, this was, really the truth at the time that the book was written, and maybe still true now, but like, I had to do the shopping and I had to cook for the week, whether I was home or not. I batch cook. Every week, my kids will tell you, the refrigerator was full on Sunday. I cooked for the entire week. And that's how I had to do it, because I had to make sure there was food. I had to set up all the kids' lessons. I had to do all the babysitters if we needed babysitters. So I would come home to the second shift and third shift and fourth shift. I really just didn't sleep a whole lot for all the years the kids were home. It was a lot to balance. And I think that one thing that's very common for us is that when we're at work, we feel guilty that we're not at home. And when we're at home, we feel guilty that we're not at work. And I think that that's something that a lot of women really experience. It can be a difficult balance. I think that you have to learn to set limits, and that's not an easy thing. When you're beginning in a career and you want to excel, you're afraid to say no to anything, but you learn to set limits. We always set up a family dinner every Sunday night with the grandparents. So that was like a religious thing for me, unless, of course, I got pulled away for work, but you try and set up as much as you can. And when I was home, I was gone a lot, because back then we didn't sit in one room and do 30 interviews. I had to go to every city. But when I was home, I was fully engaged. I took the kids to and from school, and I went to every event, and, we jumped in mud puddles when it rained, and we just had a lot of fun. And I think that you learn how to balance things, that what's best for you. But I learned to be where I was. So if I was at work, I learned to be at work. And I would say to myself, it's okay that you're here. The kids are okay. Everyone's fine. And when I was at home, I learned to really be at home. And it was hard. There's some crossover, obviously, but it's just something that takes time to figure out.
I've learned this word called boundaries. And especially when I'm with my daughter, it's, she's 7 years old. So I try to be as present and engaged with her, and having that like separate time. Like, she knows when the red light's on and mommy's on camera, or if I'm whatever I'm doing. But but what's also good is she sees me having my own career. My own boss. I make, I have goals. I set goals. I put myself out there, and sometimes it surprises me how much she is listening and absorbing and watches me, because then I'll listen to her out in the real world, and she's like, oh yeah, mom's in Jamaica right now. She's filming, but she'll be back soon. She's going to take me roller skating. And she knows that when I'm home, like, I'm home with her. And the other times I am ziplining in Costa Rica, or I'm doing something else. But I think they also see that when we have career satisfaction, we feel good about what we're doing. It does translate.
100%. And when you love what you do, it makes life a lot easier. And I think it's really important to love what you do, because you'll be at your job more than you'll be anywhere else in your lifetime. So, even though it was very hard to leave my kids, and I always had a very hefty commute, because we lived in Maryland and there was no TV in Maryland. I would get in my car and I would be sad to leave them, but very excited to get to work. And then when I would leave work, I would be sad to leave work, but very excited to see my kids. So I think it's very important to find something you love, and it's okay if it's not what you originally set out to do. If you walk into all those really cool open doors and you find something really special or spectacular and you explore it and you enjoy it, it's okay to have that shift that you were talking about. It's okay. And like you said, you can't listen to the voices around you, because there's always going to be someone that tells you you're not doing the right thing. But even my very first year of law school, my advisor told me that I had picked the wrong career, that I would never succeed. He did not even think I would graduate law school, which made me work a lot harder, by the way. Everybody out there, if you tell me no, I am going to make it happen. So
watch this.
Yeah, I'm fiercely competitive within my own brain. But I remember going home to my apartment that day thinking, well, I don't think it's normal for an advisor in law school, Professor Maddow, to say that I can't succeed and I will never be anything in a career. I thought that was very terrible, but it only pushed me to work harder. So when you hear those people that are naysayers, like a lot of the teachers I had growing up who thought I was lazy, like, don't listen. You know inside, right? You know inside who you are. So just keep exploring and following those open paths. You know, you can keep knocking on doors if you want. Look, I did it. We all do. You knock on a lot of doors. It's okay. You can knock on a lot of doors, but I think keep stopping and looking in the door that's open, because that's sometimes the right thing will find you.
Okay, so I have one more question, and then we're going to get into your 3 things, and then we're going to take some questions
Okay.
from our audience. But first, let's talk about, where do you see yourself, your trajectory now? Are there any more pivots? What kind of trajectory is in front of you now?
So it's so interesting. I think because I have done this open door philosophy during my whole career, that I keep thinking that a door will open that's exciting and new. And so I thought about this question before today. I was thinking about it.
Because you were prepared?
Yeah, I was thinking like, what do I think is next? I think at some point it would be really neat. I visit a lot of shows. I'm regular, contributing on CBS, and I love it. I love it at CBS. I was thinking it would be really neat if someday somebody asked me to join the table. I've forever have been a guest on all of these shows, and I love all of the shows. I've been at The View for 20 years. I really love the people, and I love what I do, and I could continue doing what I do I don't want to even retire ever, but I think it would be really neat occasionally to like sit at the table, to sort of be a part of a team. And so maybe that's something that I would think about in the future, but I have really done this open door thing for so long that I have to think about whether or not that's a door I want to go knock on, or if maybe that door will present itself to me at some point. But I think it could be kind of neat.
I think you just put it out into the universe. And as you know, you and I have a lot of powerful energy. So all we have to put it out there into the universe.
You never know.
So you have 3 things that I want to share with everyone that are so amazing. And the first one is, throughout our journey in life, whether we are in school learning or on the job working, we are constantly learning to learn. We've talked about this a lot today. Skills are easily transferable. I think for both of us, being an athlete, for me, transitioned to me being a TV host. You being a lawyer was easily transferable to you also being a consumer product ambassador, talking on TV all the time. Very important to never stop learning.
100%. And I know we can be very resentful sometimes, especially I love talking to the current students at URI. I had to take a math class. It was part of the rules. Math and we don't really get along. It's not a thing for me. Numbers are like inside out and upside down and backwards. And I was incredibly frustrated. And thank God URI has all those resources. So I went to the math lab every day. I really still feel sorry for anyone that's listening that was there. Thank you. I went every day, every single day. Well, it just so happened that the professor I had for math ran that clinic, and he ended up passing me because he saw how much I cared and how hard I worked. I found it very frustrating, though, to go through that process. But what I learned was sometimes it's really frustrating to learn. Sometimes it's really frustrating to learn, but you can do it and you'll get through it and you'll show up and you'll figure it out. And so even those classes you're taking right now that are really hard or really impossible and you have no idea why you're taking them,
or that are at 8 o'clock in the morning,
you will figure out why you had to go through that at some point when you're on the job.
All right. Your second thing is, we spend a lot of time knocking on doors that are closed rather than considering the doors that are already open, just waiting for you. This is another theme that you and I have talked about, just saying, oh, okay. And not banging your head against the wall and just kind of, oh, maybe I'll go through that door, and recognizing the open doors.
Yes. I think we get stuck on an idea, like since I was little, I was going to be a lawyer, and I was marching and knocking on doors, and I was going to be a lawyer, and that was it. And all of a sudden this door opened that I would never have considered. When you're young, you're not exposed to a lot of careers, a lot of things that are out there. I had never been in a TV station. I didn't even know what goes on. And so I do think it's really important that as you all are venturing through life, whether you're in school now or you're a professional, when a door opens, don't be afraid. Walk in. Be excited. It's like a brand new room to walk in. New people, new adventures. That's where you really grow. And that's where you really find yourself.
Absolutely. Okay. Last one, my dear. It's important to always listen. Oh, this is another thing we've talked about. One of the major themes today. It's so important to always listen to your inner voice, even when people we admire or your advisor and trust tell us our dreams are not obtainable. Don't listen to them. You only should listen to what's true in your heart. This is a
That's
big
right.
one.
That's right. I grew up in a tiny town, Mansfield, Ohio, little tiny cornfield town. And who would have thought where I could end up, even though everyone said it wasn't going to happen. And it's just been an exciting adventure along the way. Listen to the positive voices around you. When you hear a negative voice, it really can be overwhelming and it can occupy so much room in your brain. Try and replace that with the positive voices because they are always there. So the negative professor I had in law school, there were so many great ones that I had so many wonderful things to say about me. And I had to learn to push what he said out and pull what they said in. And we know that this happens on the job. There's going to be that person that you work with that says negative, but there also are the people there that are going to say the positive things. So it's very important to listen to your inner voice and replace the negative voices with positive ones.
Elizabeth, I could really easily talk to you all day.
Me too.
You are an inspiration to all of us. That's all the questions that I have for you. And again, you have reminded me so many things of all the different trajectory pivots that I have taken. And it's just wonderful to talk to someone who's also in my field, whose life has gone like
We have
this.
to do this. We have to do this in the reverse. I have to interview you next because I want to hear your story.
Well, I want to know if anyone has any questions, if you guys have any ideas, if you guys are starting an internship, if some of you guys have graduated and are starting a new field. Does anyone have any questions? Now that you have us, we are busy ladies, so raise those hands. You have us for a few minutes. So if you have any questions, we will be happy to answer them. Do we have any, Allison or Lydia?
Nothing so far. We're waiting for them.
No questions. Well, I think it's interesting. If you end up having questions later, I'm at Elizabeth Werner TV on Instagram and Facebook, and you can always, my URI people are my people. So you can always, if you think of something later, you can always reach out to me if you think I could be of use. I'm always open to meeting new people and learning from you and hopefully being able to help throw a lifeline once in a while.
And I'm at Nikki Noya, and our show is the JetSet. And I'm a part of the URI Foundation Board. I'm also on the advisory council for the Harrington School, and I love talking to the kids. I love seeing them sit in the exact same classroom that I was in. And now it's like the next generation of awesome women leaders. And I'm so happy to be part of this. It's just the best. I wear my little pin that I have on all of the stuff. So I wanted to thank all of you guys for having me host this. It's just such an honor to be a part of this. And Elizabeth, I'm so happy to meet you. I'm so happy to get to spend time with you.
Me too. Now we live close to each other. So for everybody, we live very close to each other. So we're going to have to meet up in person.
Oh, we actually do have some questions. Let's go with, I'm starting an internship, but as a student, how do I juggle being a student while also working towards my profession?
Yeah, this is the beginning of the juggle. And I'd like to say that the juggle goes away, but it really never does go away. I think boundaries, like you were saying, Nikki, are going to be important. You don't agree to take something on that you can't get done. I think that's very important to do. And you have to allocate specific amount of time for each, and then you have to stick to that allocation. But you have to be very open and honest with everybody about any time limitations you have. I think that's really important. So in your internship, if you know you're not going to be able to get something done because you have exams that week, you have to just make sure you tell them what's going on. Usually people are pretty understanding.
Okay, here's another one. What is your favorite part about working for CBS?
All right, well, the people are amazing. So I just have to say, and I really have loved every show I've worked at. So I think people think it's a canned answer, but CBS is a very small, special family. And that's why I love working at CBS. I've been at shows with like hundreds of producers. You know, it's a smaller group. We all get to know each other. It's such a well-oiled machine. And everyone that you see on air behaves the same way off air. They're just great, genuine people. And the people behind the scenes, I can't begin to rave enough about the producers, the crew. It's just a great, great group of people. And I love it. I'll be back there tomorrow morning and I can't wait. Even though I have to get up at 4 a.m, but it's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, I know. That's when you're genuine on camera, it translates, especially if you're not genuine on camera, that even more translates.
100%. That's why I think when people say like, who do you love the most? I love everyone. Like you can't be at this level and usually and not be that human being that you see on air. Like you can't fake this for a long time. You have to be who you are. And I think that's why I love the people I work with so much. They're just great.
We are both very, very lucky. Well, Elizabeth, that is our time today.
Oh,
if we don't have any more questions, I just want to thank all of you for being here. It's just been an honor. And Elizabeth, I can't wait to see what's next. I want to turn on the TV and I'm going to see you at the table.
At the table. That's a goal. Now you help me think of a goal. I hadn't been thinking.
That's good. Okay.
Thank you so much.
That's it for me. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Nikki.
Wow, that was amazing. I love both of your energies. It seems as if you've been friends forever. And I appreciate both your energy and just how excited you were to have this conversation and how just the energy. I felt it where I am and I just wanted to just hold on to it. So thank you both. Thank you, Elizabeth and Nikki, for just a very powerful and inspiring conversation. To those of you that joined us today for this webinar, thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to join us. We definitely understand it's busy time, so thank you for joining us. In the coming days, you will receive a survey or just a brief survey about the program. Please complete the survey and share your thoughts on today's program so that we can bring you more in this Women in Leadership speaker series. We'd like to give a final word to Elizabeth. Do you have any closing thoughts or any message you'd like to leave the audience with?
Well, thank you. First of all, just thank you all so much for coming today. Nikki, thank you very much for asking me all those great questions because I couldn't fathom what I would even talk about today. So a little bit of imposter syndrome, but I'm really grateful to be here. And I just like to leave you with the open door philosophy. I want everyone to think a little bit about doors that have been open that maybe you didn't walk in. And then think about when doors open next that maybe you should walk in. I want you to keep thinking about that as you go. It's okay if you have a career path and you're sure you know what you want to do, but so did I, and so did Nikki, and we didn't end where we started, and we're both really happy, and I think we're both exactly where we're supposed to be. So just keep walking into those open doors. And thank you all very much. We appreciate you coming today.
Thank you all. Have a good rest of the day.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.